Yo guys, this is Reinhardt, it's your favorite Russian talking, and today we're gonna be talking about the WildStar PvP. And a lot of people asked me, a lot of people commented, tweeted, messaged me on Facebook, messaged me on Twitter, messaged me everywhere possibly can, what do I think of WildStar? Especially when I said I actually got bored with World of Warcraft, people like, well, what about this game, what do you think about it? And I think it looks interesting, so this is gonna be a different one. I'm gonna be going in and out of my camera and actually go, like, I'm looking at the cute camera. I love you. But anyway, I'm gonna actually go to my Google Chrome and I'm gonna actually like see what they're actually planning to do in terms of PvP, and I'm gonna tell you guys a good things and the bad things that I actually can foresee coming from that when it comes to WildStar. But I think it looks pretty fun. For people who are new to this and watching this video, I am not a decently bad player. I'm a gladiator in World of Warcraft, which is a 0.5% top rated players, and I also got a hero of the alliance multiple times on both. So anyway guys, right now let's go over the WildStar, and I'm gonna let you know what exactly I think about the PvP and its interrelation. So the first one, I'm gonna look at the developer blog side and I'm gonna talk about here. So Jen Gordy's about the WildStar PvP. So here's what he typed out. That's on their website. So we want player skill in PvP combat to enable the best rewards that PvP will offer. To meet that goal, players will have an individual ELO rating, similar to League of Legends. For each PvP feature, Battleground, Arena, Warplot PvP that is used as a representation of a player's skill. The rating will be used for matching, as well as determining access for buying higher quality gear and other types of rewards. Okay, so let's go over this really quickly. The first thing, it's a backbone of the society. Why I decided to talk about this first is because the gear is a backbone of all the MMOs and the ELO rating and the match system. And of course I'm gonna talk about the different shit that the WildStar is gonna do. So let's talk about the ELO rating. First of all, for those who are not familiar with the ELO rating for League of Legends, it's very simple. You perform, you do great, you get into a specific bracket, and you never drop down of it. So for example, if I start in the bronze bracket and I'll get to silver bracket, no matter how many times I lose in silver bracket, I'm still gonna be in there. I'm not gonna be jumped down unless I'm gonna be inactive. And then there's like 5 divisions of silver, and once you get to number 1, you might be qualified to go into a gold one. Thank God they actually don't have an ego in saying, well, we're not copying any other game, we're gonna do something completely 100% new and fucked up. No, I actually like what they did here straight away. They said, okay, well, League of Legends rating system is awesome, it's great, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Let's go over there and we're gonna do it similar to League of Legends. Now, in League of Legends similarity, that means that again, once you get to your high elo and you stay there, it's good. It actually encourages participation instead of World of Warcraft, where they give the rewards by the end of the season to a top rated players. This system is completely different because it will reward you once you get to that instead of at the end of the season. What's the main difference is World of Warcraft, because you got these high ratings, you are at the risk of losing those ratings, getting out of that title bracket. So a lot of people get discouraged from queuing for more games, thus creating the sort of like a phenomenon where the top rated players will get their ratings and sit on their ratings and absolutely do nothing at all whatsoever, while everybody else in the low bracket is gonna have a really hard time catching up to them, because those top rated players, they kind of got the MMR from the rest of the people, and they're gonna sit on it, they're not gonna give it, they're not gonna take anything from it. So this one is a really good option. The ELO rating, big plus, A double plus to a WildStar, because that's actually very well thought out. Thank God they decided to go route of a League of Legends. I'm a big fan of a League of Legends, sort of like an ELO rating as well myself. Even though there's the ELO hell that exists, it's nowhere near terrible as World of Warcraft. So, okay, so that's the first thing. The second one is we're gonna talk about the gear. The ELO rating will qualify you for better matchups and the better gear on your toon. So basically what I mean here is very simple, my friends. You basically, if you get a like specific bracket again in that elo rating, meaning that you will probably gonna get a better gear. You can actually get a couple of different better pieces of gear. It's for those who played in Burning Crusades. I actually didn't. For those who played in a Wrath of the Lich King, it's exactly the same system where you get your shoulders at 2000 rating, you get your weapon at 2200 rating, you get your tier 1 weapon at 1800 rating, which is actually good. It increases, promotes the progression, and they also said like you are qualified to the rating of your bracket, which I mean is that, let's say you start in the bronze. Guess what? Nobody in the bronze is gonna have a better gear than you are, because nobody is qualified for a better PvP gear in that sense. So if you start in the bronze, you're gonna be fighting the same crappy ass geared people. But once you get to, like, for example, a gold, like the other bracket, I'm just using League of Legends. League of Legends has a bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, challenger brackets. So once you get to, let's say, for example, a gold, you might have like all the PvP set you really want to, and you're gonna get that PvP set, but you're never gonna be fighting again the bronze players and the gear stomping them, which is a really well thought out plan. Instead of like, they're sort of like alienating a lot of grievance, a lot of losses or wins because of a PvP gear. The only problem I could foresee this happening is probably could be if one person get a decked out gear from Battlegrounds, starts stepping into arena and shit stopping people with a better gear. Like, because they have a different brackets like Battlegrounds, arenas, that means that one person can get incredible gear from one bracket and then use that gear to gear stomp in the other bracket, which is arena is most susceptible to it. So that's one problem I could foresee here. The second problem I could actually foresee in this game is random battlegrounds. Even though they're random, they don't mean a jack shit. And the duels, because you're in a better gear bracket, you're gonna have a better gear and you're gonna gear stomp people much faster. So those two things, that unless it's a completely 100% different cosmetics, but because I said a quality of PvP gear, so I would say that the most likely the actual PvP gear is gonna be there. So yeah, that's my partake on that shit. So let me keep reading. At the end result, as they get higher ratings, skilled players will filter to the top, opening up a new gear options to stay competitive with the new players. Okay. In regards to your thoughts on the static feeling of a standard PvP battlegrounds, the WildStar PvP team likes applying that WildStar flavor to our PvP maps. For us, that means we take a standard PvP games types and identify ways to enhance objectives and roles to better suit WildStar's combat and mobility mechanics. So using a capture the flag in the map instead of actually you just capturing your map, you actually have to be guarding. I'm talking to myself. So basically what they're trying to do is to see like the most fun battlegrounds that ever been created by the other MMOs, and then they say, okay, how can I make it better? So for example, for the flag map, you can actually you need to capture the flag, bring it to your base, plant it, and people can steal it back to their own base, which is a very smart thing to do. It actually involves a lot more strategies instead of just player stomping. So in that sense, kudos to them. I think that's a much more innovative thing. I think it's I definitely think it's better, well thought out changes for the battlegrounds instead of like Temple of Kakma shit that Blizzard came out with. I freaking hated that map. Everybody knows I hate that map. The reason why I hate the map the most is because it benefits the burst classes over the actual benefits the burst class. It benefits like one-shot mechanics, like map just totally like fucked it up pretty badly. So instead of just like coming up with a shit that hasn't been tested a lot, they like trying to enhance the maps, which is way better, because World of Warcraft took the Temple of Kakma shit idea from a library map from the Rift, tried to change it and fucked it up in the process, and just bleh. But anyway, so far that's what I'm saying. The PvP looks actually very interesting. The last thing I want to touch base here is crowd control. I believe in the crowd control they're gonna come up with some kind of idea that you have a armor ignore. I need to actually look it up and read it for a second. Okay, here. Many of our developers have experienced the same frustrations with crowd control that all expressed in your comments. Talking about the crowd control system is way too heavy. That is why we have spent a good bit of time coming up with the ways to prevent this from happening in WildStar. Our first solution in the system was to introduce, quote, interrupt armor. In this system, players and creatures can receive buffs that add interrupt armor counters to their character. These interrupt armor counters act as a crowd control absorbers. Each crowd control spell will have a power associated with it. If this power is less than the power of a current amount of counters on a player or a creature, the value of the interrupt armor is dropped by the value of the crowd control, and the crowd control is not applied. Phew, my reading sucks. If the crowd control power reduces the interrupt counters to 0, the crowd control effect will be applied. So basically what they give is, it gives them sort of like a buffer system where you get this crowd control on yourself, sort of a shield, and they cast a couple crowd controls on you, and basically it drops down your shield to a crowd control, and once that drops to 0, that's it, you're in a clear, which is a very interesting mechanic. The only thing I have a question, is that just a baseline for everybody? Is that a stat we can get from the armor and weapons? And last but not least, I have a question about it. What about the diminishing return system? And I actually need to look at the actual crowd control skills before I can say anything else. Here's the thing, we view crowd control as a prison, and we wanted to make sure that anytime you're in a prison you have some sort of a gameplay that lets you break out. Using the design philosophy, we are able to take a variety of crowd control states that MMO are all too familiar with and update them to a system that provides more interactive and less frustrating experience. We were able to come up with a few crowd control states that you may not have wow, my reading sucks. Sorry. That you may not have seen, that we find to be very fun. We'll dive into detail later on. So that's about the crowd control. I'm really interested how it's gonna plan out. It might be actually pretty fail. In my opinion, the best way to do it is actually diminishing returns. Like for spawnable abilities, they should, like any 8-second plus crowd control ability in MMOs should have a shared diminishing return with anything else. So ship with poly, like a fear with a trap, shit like that should be like shared a lot. And then maybe like sounds and stuns are shared too, because those are very strong preventative spells as well. But anyway, I'm very curious what they actually gonna try to come up with the crowd control mechanics, and that's that. Now the last thing we're gonna talk about today is about the WildStar, is actually their arena system. Arena system is, first of all, there's double jumping, like jumping like a fucking grasshopper or some shit like that, which is awesome. You can jump over the walls in arena if you're trying to kite. This is great, but the biggest change that they have is a respawn timer. So basically you get a limited amount of respawns, and during that time you basically, once the respawn, once you like get think about it as extra life. Once you like deplete your respawns, then you die already for real in arena, and that's that, you're done, and you lose the match. So first of all, I think it's actually definitely adds a little bit of a layer of a depth. First of all, jumping over the walls and all that shit, I'm not very excited about them. I'm not saying that I'm not excited, I'm just not very excited. I'm not saying I'm not excited, not very. That means that I really could give a two shits about my character being able to jump like a freaking grasshopper over the wall 2 times, which it still adds a little bit of mobility. They have a sprint booster, they have a movement, which is awesome. It's all something that is, I'm gonna be very new and learning it, and I'm looking forward to it, but it's not something like mandatory I'm actually planning to see. But the respawn timer on arena actually kind of caught my attention, because A, it actually eliminates a lot of hard counters, and B, it actually kind of evens out the playing battlefield. For example, everybody knows what a Thug Cliff is, or a KFC is. Why they're so strong? Because they have 2 strong cooldowns. Warriors offensive cooldown, for example, and also Hunter's preparation with all the crowd control mechanics. Same thing goes for the rogue hunter teams as well. So what happens is they are out there and they're forcing you, like they're trying to kill you right off the start within like a first minute of the match, because they have so many like they have preparation, they have, for example, readiness, they have all this cooldowns that they can use. But after those cooldowns are depleted completely, guess what? The other team already starts to get a comeback and actually can get a relatively good comeback. Or sometimes the counter rogue would just completely mangle the living crap out of yourself. For example, 140, 150k eviscerates. I haven't played in 5.3. I'm talking about the 5.2 numbers. So that's that. What I like about the response time system is that it actually gonna promote, instead of just completely blindly and stupidly popping every single CD that you can actually have in your arsenal, every single CC, in order to get a kill, it doesn't gonna matter a jack shit. You're gonna actually have to start planning out more strategically over the period of time. So if you have a readiness, maybe you're gonna use your readiness not in the first minute, but maybe in the first 2.5 minutes, because there's also a respawn timer that you have to be worrying about. Also, a lot of times, can you imagine how you would die to a random number, a random burst all of a sudden? So having a respawn time system is actually gonna help you out in that sense dramatically, because it will simply just gonna help you out a lot in terms of if you're gonna get hard countered, or if you're playing against a comp that just wants to mongoloid the living crap out of you in 30 seconds. Guess what? There is a respawn timer that you can actually take, you can actually access, and start and then go in the fight again. So basically, any lucky gimps, any lucky burst, anything that very mongoloid is gonna be completely discouraged in this game, because you also need to plan out accordingly based on how many response. Now, I'm not sure how many response timers they are. That's something I'll need to look into it. Now, what I said is the game looks very, very interesting, my friends. I definitely want to try it out. Whoever has money and watching my ugly face and my beautiful hair, if you have money to check it out, go ahead and check it out. I mean, buy it and all that shit. The game is coming out at the end of this year, but granted that maybe it's gonna spill over the beginning of next year. I did sign up for beta, and I'm actually looking forward to actually trying it out, because the game looks pretty fun. The game looks pretty awesome from what I've seen. What they actually saw was very, very reasonable. I cannot nitpick a lot of things. There's a few things that I just nitpicked myself personally. Basically, it usually comes from their elo rating system and the crowd control. I really want to see how they do it, and right now it's a bit way too early to talk about is this game gonna kill World of Warcraft. If it's not gonna kill, actually nobody gives a shit already anymore about if the game is gonna kill something or not. You cannot kill something which is already dead, which is World of Warcraft. No, I'm just kidding. The game is still popular, for fuck's sakes. But anyway, so basically what I want to say is the game looks interesting. They have a really good, unique approach, very good YouTube videos, extremely funny YouTube videos. It's gonna be the first link down below. You guys check it out. They have like a really good attitude, really, really good tone of voice. They're setting up a good theme. There was something that World of Warcraft used to do it a lot. When I didn't play in World of Warcraft, I was always interested. I would watch this like a raid this temple, raid that temple, and they would show like this little RP animation shit, which was really, really funny, and I actually rather enjoyed watching it. But it's World of WoW is not doing that for some reason anymore. But they have all that, and it looks fun. And honestly, if this game will turn out to be worse than World of Warcraft, I still think there's a lot to gain from me or anybody else as a WoW player, because WoW is gonna have to be balancing their shit even further and make sure the gaming experience is gonna be really good. But if that game is gonna chip over a good portion of a PvP player base from World of Warcraft, then World of Warcraft is gonna be focusing on making their game actually a lot more fun and bring out the changes that it fucking needs to make, like bring out the raiding and skirmishes, which I think is long overdue and it's supposed to be in this game. The last thing I want to talk about this game is WildStar. I hope they're gonna have two different brackets, a ranked arena bracket and a ranked arena solo queue, meaning that you don't have to be in a team 100% of the time in order to progress in ratings. But that's it for this video. It's a 20-minute freaking vlog because a lot of people asked me to what I think about this game. So my nerd analyzing mind just went fucking bananas. I read through a bunch of shit, looked at a bunch of videos, and took out what I actually think gonna be good about the game and what we actually can be looking forward to. Now, I'm not saying go ahead and buy this game. I'm not saying go ahead and don't buy this game, because I simply cannot say anything else. I need to look at the game. I need to look at the class abilities, class skills, and the overall theme of the game. And even though it's happening in a sci-fi and there's no death knights, just the fact that they might actually do something the community really wants, because they are one of the few MMOs that actually had a balls to introduce arenas right at the start. I think that the game might be actually worth a shot. So everybody, thank you for watching, and let's stay tuned. I'm working on a jamming, by the way, jamming video for WoW, so in some League of Legends videos as well. Talk to you later, buddies.